If you're like me and you've been struggling with downwind SUP foiling, this video is for you. Let's go.
Thanks so much for joining us. Stoked to be here with you guys. Today we are gonna share some experience on downwind SUP foiling and how challenging of a process it is. If you are in that struggle, you are not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. No. It's part of the process. But I'm here to tell you that it's
not all right.
It's worth it. It's worth once you get a taste for it. I'm telling you, you will not go back. So let's talk about it. How challenging is downwind SUP foiling?
Oh man, this video is supposed to be positive, but I'm gonna take this so negative. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I'm in the struggle stages with downwind foiling, straight up the truth. And I have moments of greatness and I can ride swell and I love it and it's amazing, but man, do I struggle on these downwinders. And we wanted to make this video because we wanted to say, look, if you're out there struggling, it's okay, because you will get there. Now, I believe I'm gonna get there, but I would say it's a struggle. And I would say the biggest challenges are, you know, there's a lot of work involved to be out there physically. You're mentally playing a game because you get up on full and you're like, I got it, I gotta just pump a little more, I gotta try it. And it's really hard to read the ocean. And I think the number one mistake that I feel like you're not making, and I'm gonna tell you this, is there's this foil and this foil and this board and this foil and this. Look, I've tried a lot of different ones. I'm still struggling.
None of them work, so forget about
it. We've even tried different things where we've swapped on downwinders and Gwen takes off for like 2 hours and I'm still struggling. So what I'm trying to say is either I'm horrible at it, which is very much a possibility, but I don't believe that. What I believe it is just takes time and you need to put the time in and it will come. And I truly believe it will, but I want to share this with you guys because it's humbling, but it's also awesome because it's a challenge. And I like the challenge. Is it hard? Is there days that I come in and I'm like, what am I doing? I should just go wing foiling. But that's part of that learning process. And the best thing to have is surround yourself with the community of downwind foilers if you have them, because they lift you up and they go through the struggle too. And together you guys can learn it. I think that's very powerful.
Yeah, I would say, you know, one of the challenge of downwind SUP foiling is that you are trying to get up on foil with very little power, your paddle, and maybe a tiny push, you know, more or less depending on where you are in the conditions. So the challenge is that you can't have a massive foil, which would make the takeoff easier, but then you can't keep up with the swell. And then it's hard to take off with a small foil. But overall, I would say, from my short experience downwind SUP foiling, what I've came to realize is that we again tend to downsize too much too quick on a foil where I think most foils have a range that we haven't really fully used, and we are thinking that going to a smaller foil is going to help us.
We're thinking gear is going to fix everything.
I've done this mistake. I went out on like a really fast 800. I was up and riding, and right next to me was my friend Richard on a 1050, way slower foil, and I was not faster than him. Yeah. So, and he came out of the run saying like, I was like, the range, I never felt like I was like overpowering. And that made me realize, you know what? I'm always trying to like gauge the condition, how small should I go? Where in reality, I've rarely been in condition where I'm like maxing out my foil. Now, of course, you can max out your foil if you go with a big flat water pumping foil. Yes, you're gonna max it out. But there are a lot of foils out there in, you know, 15 to 1,000 square centimeter range that it will take some really big condition to max out. So don't try to go too small, too quick. You like really, you know, work on your skills before you start like going down in size.
I'm gonna give you this is my learning process best tips I have as of right now. Number one, when you see the big lump coming behind you, it looks like the wave that you want to catch. Let that one roll through because there's usually a suck back wave that's gonna give you the push to paddle up. That's my first one. My second one is when you're out there and you're like, you're struggling along and you're trying to go through it, it's important to like stay positive, because you get pretty negative pretty quick, right? Because you're just like, all your buddies took off and you're just floating out there and you're like, what am I doing, right?
Then you start freaking out.
Yeah, and you start freaking out. But that one's important. The other one is when you do get up on foil, try to keep your foil high. A lot of times you get caught pumping along and you're just tapping that board. And like lift it up, you're gonna get more lift when you get that foil higher, and I swear that's helped me a ton. And my third one that's the most helpful one for me is when I'm up on foil, it's really hard to read the ocean, or at least it is for me. And when I'm looking, instead of looking for like the lifty waves where you can see like the crest to go down, I'm actually looking now for the backside of something. Like I want to run into the back of the mountain. The reason why is on the backside of the mountain, usually it's creating that lift, which is where I'm going to be with my foil, and you're on that lifter. So those are like what I've learned, and I'm still struggling. But do you have any couple helpful little tips?
You nailed it. Looking for the uphill, knowing that behind the uphill there is a downhill. It's hard to see the downhill. It's easier to see the uphill. So knowing
and usually
that,
I chased over it, and that's never worked well for me.
Yeah, don't. Once you're up, try not to stress. Try to stay calm. You have to scan the water.
Yeah.
You have to try to slow down and really again feel your foil. If you don't feel it, if inside your brain it's like go go go, I'm up, pump pump pump, where is it? It's there, I can't make it. Then you are done. Okay,
yeah.
So it's like
heart rate's at like 400.
Exactly, you just blow up, and then so if something like that is happening inside your brain, once you're up, it's like okay, I'm up. Okay, slow down. Like let's see, can I get some glide? Oh, I get some glide. Let's not make any change right now. Oh, I'm starting to slow down. Let's pump a bit and find another bump. But I think you really have to like slow things down, feel it, and read the water. The reading part is probably the hardest, and that just comes with like time. But if you don't feel it, the feeling it is your feedback of is it the right spot or not. If you just read and you don't feel, it's hard to like understand, because now you have not assimilated that good spot to how where you should be. So read, feel, put in the time, and it's gonna come. But it's just
gonna come. I'm telling myself, guys.
It's such a magical feeling to be able to be up on foil, out in the ocean for miles. Best feeling ever, and that's why it's worth it.
I got one more tip. This one was I learned on my last one, and this one shout out to John Modica for making me do it. And many people actually said this, but a lot of times you don't. When you're out there and you're paddling and you're about ready to take off, we live in Florida here, I always would just get up, because I can get up pretty quick and I can get on foil pretty quick, but I would be more on the inside, okay? And they all said it a million times, and I never did this. Paddle further out, further than you think you should paddle out. Keep going out to the ocean, keep going out and out and out and out, because there's this rolling swell on the inside that sometimes catches you and gets you off foil. But when you're way out, it's more of that like wind chop swell. And man, this last session, they kept saying it, and I finally did it, and I kept going further out and further out and further out whenever I crash, and it makes a difference, 100%. You don't have necessarily that rolling side swell that'll run into you, and it sure makes it easier. It seemed on those days to be easier for me, or on that day. That was just one other point I wanted to share. That's all I got. I'm still struggling. I just wanted to share those with you guys.
Well, yeah, easiest condition always is gonna be, to me, wind chop. If you can have wind chop, it's always going to be steeper, it's always going to be slower. That's the easiest condition. If you have ground swell, that's moving fast and it's not very steep, it's harder to stay with, and it's harder to take off. And then when everything can align, it's also like ideal. When you have things that like, wind chop this way and ground swell this way, that's also very challenging.
If I were to ask you, because a lot of people ask us this, and I'm going to ask Gwen this just for your guys' help. If I came to you and I'm like, I'm pretty skilled at paddling, I'm going to take a 100 liter or 130 liter board, and they're 8 foot long. Is there something or a difference that really would make a difference or not?
Well, what everybody's kind of like realizing is like going with more volume is not going to work against you. Where like, a lot of us come from foiling, and everybody is like, when you progress, you are scared of bigger volume. You want to go to a smaller volume. And with downwind SUP foiling, it's not as like the volume is not as
Hindering.
yeah, hindering in terms of like, you know, if you go smaller, it's going to be way better as you progress. Not at all. And a lot of guys are like now moving up in volume and still, you know, having more fun. So
I wanted to ask that question.
always going bigger volume. I think that's the trend right now in the industry. You're going to see boards that are coming up.
I just had a board
longer,
made, 250 liters. I'm going to
can
crush
have
it tomorrow.
A motor on your burn. That's going to help. And yeah. So
Any other last minute, is there any other last minute like tips that just jump out that you'd want to share with everybody?
I think, you know, again, you know, putting in the time, which means when you don't always have condition, like for us, even going out on flat water, practicing flat water paddle up, not with a small foil, you know, maybe just that's the time where you're going to put your like bigger foil on flat water. But that technique, I think, can only help. And again, it's time. So if you can put in that time on days where there's no condition to ride, you go on flat water, you practice. On days where the conditions are good, you have that. It's been helpful. It brought you to the point where now you might be ready.
Look, hopefully this video helps you guys. I'm struggling. I hope you can struggle with me, or hopefully you get it. But look, we just wanted to share it with you guys. I see these people crushing it. I'm gonna be there. I just gotta believe in yourself. So we're gonna end this video with, look, believe in yourself. Give yourself some positivity. Pat yourself on the back when you do get up on foil. Look, it's a process. If you look at everything you've done in life, it doesn't just come like that. It takes time. You got to work at it. So put your time in, and we're here to help. I won't be answering those questions. That'll be 100% Gwen, because mine might get negative because I'm still struggling. No, I'm just kidding.
It's always good to have a humbling experience. You don't ever want to have a humbling experience, but it's good. And it's important to always, like we always say it, you know, like as you get older, you know, you still want to be able to have some of those like beginner experiences.
Not like this.
And it's gonna help you grow. Growth doesn't come from comfort. And so if you take yourself outside of your comfort zone, I'm telling you, it's worth it. In the moment, it sucked. You don't want it. But in the long run, you look back and you're like, wow, like, okay, you know, this is what got me to where I am today. So put yourself outside your comfort zone. Find yourself a challenge. You did find one. If you are interested in downwind SUP foiling, that's a great one. So you're gonna have fun with that. Don't give up. Believe in yourself.
Yeah, and focus on the little moment rides you have, right? Maybe you don't ride the whole way, but those little moments you get on that downwind run, man, those build and build and build, and soon you'll just go like Gwen all the way to the end, and you don't have to be like me, where it's like 6.5 hours later, I'm like, all right, it's dark. What are we doing? No, I'm just kidding.
When you get that, you get a great workout, so.
Yeah. So on that note, hopefully this helps you guys. Look, we appreciate you guys. Leave your comments to help people. All this goes to help people. That's the goal behind this. Don't be afraid to throw out like who are your local dealers or friends or instructors or people that somebody should look to in an area. It's super helpful for people to get in contact with people that can help them in the area. So that's the goal, and we appreciate you guys. Thanks for supporting Wingfoil Pro Center. It's amazing. We just appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time.